Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Portsmouth Port and Industrial Commission meeting for Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025. Good morning. Roll call, please.
Allen,
Present.
Mr. Foster,
Present.
Mr. Hanson,
Here.
Swain, Peterman here. Mr. Rice
Present.
and Mr. Barham, who is absent. Chair, we do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Before you have the minutes of the March 25th, 2025 regular meeting, I'll need a motion in a second for adoption of those minutes.
Second.
We have a motion in a second. Are there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Is absent. Mr. Foster,
Yes.
Mr. Hanson,
Yes.
Mr. Swain,
Yes.
Mr. Rice,
Yes.
Peterman.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Sure, these items approved by a vote of 6-0.
thank you. Good morning, Ms. Pope. Good morning. We're here for our quarterly financial report for March 2025.
Yes, ma'am.
In addition to the overhead, we do have a printed copy of the March financial statement that's table for everybody, so you can follow along.
Good morning again, everybody. Today I will be giving the unaudited financial report for the third quarter ending March 31st, 2025. The first report is our statement of net position. For the third quarter, we ended with around $837,000 in cash and $856,000 in grants receivable. We still have on the books 2 properties listed at $332,000 at this point, giving us a total net asset value of around $2 million. Our liabilities for the quarter were $1.1 million, consisting of some grant payables of general AP and a liability due to the Commonwealth in 2029, leaving us with an unrestricted net position of $950,000, a small decrease of $7,400 from last year. This report right here is our statement of revenues, expenses, and change in that position. So far, we have not brought in any IRB fees. We did have a total of operating expenses of $23,436. We earned so far $16,000 in investment income. And again, our net position is $950,000. This report right here is our budget to actual report, which shows our final budget versus our actual revenue coming in and expenditures going out. This right here is our interest breakdown. So far we have $16,000, but this month it was $1,472. This is our grants payable and receivable report, because what we bring in, we're going to pay out. And again, that's $856,000. Any questions?
Yeah, can I just ask 2 questions? One, the liability to the Commonwealth, what's that for?
There's a $200,000 item there in the liability section. That is for the Burton's Point Road payment. It's tied to some of the additional Superfund project work that was required that you guys seem committed to covering that cost. So upon the sale of the property, we are liable for repayment of that $200,000 to the Department of Environmental Quality.
The other question is, it's investment income. What did we make investments on if we made income from?
Well, that's just interest earned on
Okay.
the cash that you hold in the banks.
Okay. Got it.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Pope.
So thank you.
We will have our FY 2026 PPIC budget presentation by our treasurer. Good morning, Commissioner McSwain.
Good morning.
Oh. Okay. All right, once again, good morning, everybody. Okay, so our projected land sale is that 1,959,000 that you see. And then, let me go down to, the Port Host Community Grant, that 500,000 that we expect, and then the operating expenses, we went down to, contractual auditing. Make sure I'm in the right place, that $9,000. Contractual legal, 10,000, that was, in case something comes up and we need to get more legal help. Contractual other was at $50,000, and we didn't move too much from where we were, for fiscal year 2025. Indirect cost allocation, we remained, still at 1,700. And we hadn't, to date, we used $850 of it, so it was best, that we felt to keep it at 1,700. Business development, 15,000. And I go down to, the post community grant, fiscal year 25. Was 800, we say, well, year to date is 800,000. We had put, in our budget for 2025, 500,000, but we've already went up to 800 for the fiscal year 2025. And, I think, I can't remember what we had said, why we were so high.
So we, Treasurer, I can speak to that. The threshold grant amount for the Port Host Community Program is $500,000. Communities are able to obtain more funds for their application if there are funds available, which is why in FY25 we actually received $800,000 from the program. So what we have done is for FY 2026 is just programming the threshold grant amount at 500,000. Not having a project identified yet, it's really kind of a placeholder for what will be an application we expect to submit in coming fiscal year.
Thank you.
It may go higher. I hope it does. I hope it does.
Thank you. So, like you said, we kept it at the 500,000 minimum. For the the job creation grant was the $50,000 that we, had decided before, as an incentive for the, companies to come in and create jobs. So I think y'all may remember that, but we did vote on that. We left Starbase, open again because we didn't have, any demands or requests from Starbase in the previous year, so we did not put anything there. But, we can always go back. So insurance, because, of inflation and whatnot, we went up to $1,000. It went from, $650, so we went up to $1,000 now. And, we got that new property, so. And we went up with travel, we went up from 2,000 to 5,000. The reason being, it was, at my request, I must say, because we haven't actually been, having any kind of in-service or, training. So I asked Mr. Donahue if he could look into that for us. And so with that being, and I know that, it could be quite costly, so I asked him to raise that to 5,000 to cover all of the members. Also with training, so we're raising it both to 5,000 from 2 to 5. Not saying we're gonna use it all, but at least if we have it budgeted. We're gonna go down to, we already had the contract legal, which was the 10,000, and we have been, 10,000, 2024 and 2025, so we did not, do anything different. Grounds maintenance. We went up to 12,600 because, we acquired the, property at 06 Street. And so we still have to keep that up as well. So, the total development property is 22,600. Our total operating expenditures is 669,300. And our operating income is $1,789,700. The investment income realized 11,901. Total operating revenues is 2,459,000. The total operating expenses is 669,300. Total non-operating income expense is 11,901. So we had a decrease in our net position by $1,801,601. We had a net position at the beginning of the period, $1,261,168. And our net position at the end of the period would be $3,062,769. So we'll be projected to be in a much better position than we were for this fiscal year and of course the year before. If we sell that property.
Okay. If you have any questions, please identify yourself so I may call on you. Before I ask my questions. Sure.
The investment income realized, is that predicated on sale of property or what is that realized?
That, may I answer?
Yes, ma'am.
Again, that is the interest earned on the cash sitting in the bank.
Okay, got it.
Okay, any other questions?
And I just want to say something here. The 22,600 total development property, if you look on the back, you'll see this. Okay.
Okay. So my first question, and while Starbase had not asked for any funding, I'd like to see some funding put in for them. I know there's a need. I think sometimes we just haven't had the opportunity to make sure that we stay connected to them, but I know that they have a need. So I'd like to see us, if at all possible, put some funds for Starbase Victory. The second portion, I had a question on, grounds maintenance, as it has gone up. We are looking to, we should have some of these properties off of our roll by 2026, correct?
We are projecting by the end of the fiscal year, you could have closed on sale of the Burton's Point Road property.
Which would take some of that ground maintenance off of our need to maintain that, correct?
Correct, at the end of the fiscal year, we're projecting that we'll be on the books for fiscal year.
Okay.
But you are correct, on sale of the property, both the grounds maintenance insurance costs would come off.
Okay.
And then just keep in mind that as Treasurer McSwain mentioned, we have acquired property in Ford Center, so we're adding that on. It's
Okay.
increase your operating from expenses from your.
Okay. Councilman Hugel, you have any questions, comments, or concerns?
I do not. Thank you.
Right. So then the only other thing, like I said, was making sure that we have some sort of investment for Starbase Victory. And I'll reach out to the executive director just to make sure that she's aware that there are funds there available to support them when we come back with whatever the dollar amount is.
If I may. So just in terms of our schedule, this is a draft budget that has been proposed by the budget committee. We are looking at May meeting to come back with a finalized document for adoption. So we have some time. If there are any other questions that are outstanding or this item for Starbase that needs to be investigated to bring it into the budget, we'll be able to do that and bring it back before you for the meeting.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Budget Committee, Mr. Rice, and great. Yes, Mr. Hugel.
I'm a Nickelback.
Sure.
So we spoke last time about having PPIC more engaged with the port. So are there conferences or things that the port does that maybe we need to consider as potential expenses this coming year that we haven't expended in the past because this group hasn't really been doing outreach to the port. We've been counting on Chris to inreach.
I'm not opposed to that. I know that I've attended a couple of conferences.
What we anticipate, Councilman, you said, it's like the Time Association International Trade Symposium, that commissioners would have the opportunity to attend conferences such as that. We have increased the budget for the upcoming year for both training and travel. Both line items have gone from $2,000 to $5,000, which we feel is an appropriate amount to cover participation by members in those events.
Is there something that you'd like to suggest that we participate?
Just
Okay,
wanting to make sure we didn't give ourselves new things to do and no way to pay for it.
gotcha. Krista, I know we haven't gotten to you yet, but is there any suggestion that you may have that we have not thought about that we need to add to our budget line?
Well, I think maybe Brian, along with myself and staff, we kind of can make sure that we're not missing any of those outreach activities that are on the horizon for this upcoming fiscal year, because I will say the city's Department of Economic Development is a tremendous partner in a lot of our outreach efforts. So there already is a presence. It may not be PPIC, right? But between what the port's doing, what Portsmouth does with the Hampton Roads Alliance, and they're, again, outward marketing and leveraging the, value that's here within the city tied to the waterfront and the port is happening. So maybe we'll have a side discussion, and if we uncover an opportunity, we bring it back when you actually vote on the budget.
Okay. Fair enough. Thank you. Any other discussion regarding the proposed budget? Seeing none? Port of Virginia update.
Sure. I'll keep going here. Thank you so much. And I'll great agenda here, so I'll keep my remarks somewhat concise. I know it seems like we were just together a few weeks ago, but just to give a quick update on March. March was a very good month for the Port of Virginia when it equates to volume and the actual cargo that we handled over our docks. It was actually our second best month ever for March. Best March. 2022 was our best March, but we surpassed 300,000 TEUs, which is always there's benchmarks along the way, and that's a substantial one. So really, March was a very busy month for our operation. Subsequently, we also were commissioning new cranes at VIG, at Virginia National Gateway there in Portsmouth, and those new ship-to-shore cranes. Those are the big cranes you see on the horizon, and it's very impressive. We have 4 new ones that have been fully commissioned that are operational there at VIG, bringing the total count of ship-to-shore cranes at VIG to 14. So I mean, it's VIG is really in full swing right now. So it's something I think the city of Portsmouth should be very proud of. It's an asset that we can all go out and market, and will continue to, I think, derive economic benefit and value to the citizens of this city, as well as throughout the region and Commonwealth. So VIG is going well. And then just quick update on PMT from my standpoint. The winter months are the period in which there's a lot of, sort of, I would say, not a lull, because it is busy out at PMT, but we will see activity begin to pick up associated with offshore wind and the Coastal Virginia Offshore Wind Project. That activity will begin to pick up. It has already really begun in the past few weeks, but you will see coming into spring and summer a lot more components arriving, as well as vessel activity for freight going out to the installation field there off the coast of Virginia Beach. So it's just continues to be a good story, and really a bright light amongst an industry that's had some ups and downs. It's really going well at PMT when we look at the Coastal Virginia Offshore Wind Project, the partnership with Dominion, and all parties involved. It's really been a successful project up to this point. There's an upcoming large global conference happening here in this region coming up around wind. So I'll let Brian and the team talk about that, because I know there'll be some involvement from the city of Portsmouth in activities around the oceanic in partnership for offshore wind. So I will defer on that comment. But happy to answer any questions. I'll stop here and answer any questions from the PPIC members.
Is there any questions?
You seen any impact on your tariffs to For business?
Well, I mean, we definitely are watching that. You know, that's a market and situation that very much has a lot of our attention, and we are by all means tracking. There is somewhat of a you know, not wait and see, because we want to be proactive in an approach, but we are definitely as they somewhat fluctuate and change. You know, it's been kind of hard to take any action, but by all means, our team on a variety of fronts, you know, from project deployment, because we still have improvements underway over in Norfolk at NIT. So there's big capital improvement projects and infrastructure underway that we're managing and funding. And so that's an element that, you know, is, you know, something we're tracking from tariffs perspective and that cost. Of course, freight flow with our big box customers, because I mean, obviously we serve a function within supply chain as a marine terminal operator. And so we want to make sure that we are tied in with our big box customers, you know, and we know who those are. And they are definitely very much tracking the impacts of tariffs because of where they're sourcing their imports. So yes, I mean, our team is by all means very much on the pulse, but no action immediately taken. I think what we will see in the region in particular, and something that we control, is the foreign trade zone. We administer the local FTZ. We are seeing an uptick in demand, if inquiries, not that there's an immediate use, but inquiries around foreign trade zones and some of the benefits that come through foreign trade zones when you think about tariff and duty deferral and reduction, and subsequently bonded warehousing as well. So, I mean, these are things that, you know, we might see in the next 6-12 months as the tariffs take effect. You'll see some probably local warehousing, you know, 3PL parties look to either become a bonded warehouse or even stand up a foreign trade zone, which we would assist with because we are the administrator of FTZ 20 here in Hampton Roads. So, yeah, we're watching. I guess kind of, I hate to say wait and see, but you know, we are definitely on the pulse and trying to make sure that we meet our customers' needs as well as set up an environment to continue to foster growth.
Any other questions? All right, thank you so much for the presentation. Next on our old business is the PPIC annual retreat. We did get conversation from Mr. Foster that we decided would be able to be addressed at a upcoming meeting. And hearing, barring any other subject matter for a retreat, we will not be having a retreat. Moving on to our next visit, 06th Street and 1603 7th Street, Brian.
Thank you, Chair. Just a really quick update. Wanted to share that the deed to transfer the properties at 06th Street and 1603 7th Street has been recorded. So those properties have been transferred, and we are now in the process of doing some notification with an adjacent property owner and working to prepare the property for marketing. We have received some interest, direct interest from some development groups, so we're having some conversations about that, what that might look like, but we're really gearing up to get this marketed and developed, which I think, given that it's a really excellent location within the region with pretty much immediate interstate access. The fact that it can accommodate anywhere from 20 to 30,000 square feet of industrial warehouse space, flex office space. We do think there's a strong market for this property and that type of product. So I would expect to have some good feedback and follow-ups for you here soon. But this is something we're working on as a team here within the office to get out on the street and in front of the development.
And you already have Lindsay under contract?
Yes, sir, we do. So Harvey Lindsay is the commercial real estate broker. They represent you on this other property, and you'll be doing so on this property.
Any questions regarding that? Okay, City Council PPIC joint meeting on July 7th.
Chair, this is really a reminder for the group that there is a joint meeting scheduled with the City Council. That is a Monday work session item. It's in at 5:30. And the goal of this is to have dialogue between the City Council and PPIC. This is something that's being done with the various boards and commissions. So we'll be working with the chair and vice chair on developing the agenda for that meeting. But I believe what, the city manager, is hoping for would be that, you all are sharing your projects, activities, your vision, for, investment and economic development in the city, and having that dialogue with the city council.
Is there reciprocity there? They're going to share their vision with us as well.
Well, I would like to ask our city council liaison here, Councilman Hebert, to speak to what they're hoping.
So short answer is yes. Part of the discussion we had at the council retreat a month and a half ago was the need for council to do a better job communicating to everybody in the city the vision of council, the goals that council has set for the city manager and the city team. And so the effort here with Monday work sessions is to give us the chance to engage with boards and commissions and to do council business outside of council chambers in a way that we can have a conversation and you all can hear from council as well as us hearing from you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Comments?
Do we have a subcommittee or somebody who's going to work on the agenda for all? Or do we do?
That's us. You mean?
Okay, the three of us. Okay. Of the four. Oh,
Any other questions? Okay, the CSX DeLong Rail Transloading Facility at One Harper Avenue update.
So we have a few updates for you. Our Avenue facility that the DeLong Company is planning for, they're just south of PMT. Again, this is a rail served transloading facility to move agricultural products from rail car to container for export through the port. You can see on the overhead, just a reminder on where that is. They're really adjacent to the port terminal itself and the CSX intermodal yard. They are looking at making some rail improvements, adding some equipment for actually moving those ag products from the rail car to the containers. And their most recent expansion of the project of phase two, if you will, is going to be the construction of two silos for storage of grain and feed products on the property. So things are moving forward. If you recall, your last meeting, you did approve of the PPIC's participation in the significant grant application to the Port Infrastructure Development Program, which is a federally funded grant through the Maritime Administration for improvements. And that was about a $17 million grant request that would be made. The application deadline is April 30th for that to be submitted. However, there appears to be a revision to the notice of funding opportunity at the federal level, which may delay that submission date. It looks like some of the criteria for the grant program is being revised. So we're waiting on some direction from the federal government on that, and have been having conversations with DeLong. So we will certainly keep you abreast of when that application gets submitted. From a PPIC standpoint and city staff, we're ready to submit that once the application's finalized, and DeLong is working through that with their consultants. A second update, which is I think some exciting news, is we actually have a groundbreaking schedule. And the date for that is May 29th. It'll be in the mid-morning. We will be sending out a formal invitation to the PPIC commissioners for your attendance, but want to make sure you just kind of have that penciled in on your calendar, that there will be a groundbreaking event on the 29th of May. That will likely be in the 10, 11 o'clock timeframe. I believe there's a lunch served follow. So some exciting news there to report. And again, this is one of two projects that will be supporting the export of agricultural products. We also have the Norfolk Portsmouth Belt line just down the street. They're going to be doing something very similar with Raymont Logistics, a Canadian-based firm. So we are kind of ground zero here for what will be an agricultural export terminal. And certainly, I think helping the core system effectively.
That really surprised me, they were moving that quickly.
That has been their schedule since they've started, and they stick with it. Thank you for that. Yeah, there are some questions and considerations for the current state of tariffs and global markets and what that may look like. But in our conversation, very confident in the marketplace and what they will be providing in Portsmouth. So full speed ahead.
Okay. Any comments, questions, or concerns? All right, let's launch into new business. We need to appoint a PPIC Assistant Secretary, and we have Mr. Charles Ballman in front of us for appointment as the new PPIC Assistant Secretary in the absence of Brian when he's unavailable. I will need a motion, a second, and then we will go into roll discussion and a roll call vote.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Foster? Yes. Mr. Hanson?
Yes.
Ms. McSwain?
Yes,
Mr. Rice?
Yes.
Mr. Peterman?
Yes.
And Ms. Allen?
Yes.
Chair, the item is approved by a vote of 6-0.
We don't have to pay a salary.
We get a quill.
The city cover that cost. And do appreciate your appointment of Mr. Bauman as Assistant Secretary. That will be of considerable help in the planning and execution of your meetings as well as some of your initiatives. So we're excited to have Charlie on board. It's been just about 2 months now at this point. And we've made some great headway on a number of fronts and excited to have him on the team. We are fully staffed at this point, which it's taken us some time to get there, but we are a full department. And we're moving forward with a number of important projects and initiatives, and this will be very helpful.
Awesome. Which will lead us into the Portsmouth Mayor's Military Affairs Committee update.
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you very much for the appointment as Assistant Secretary. I appreciate that very much. And as we put this item on the agenda as an update, the Portsmouth Mayor's Military Affairs Committee met last week. Vice Chair Feely, part of that group. Councilman Eagle was present, and of course, Chairman Tim Cullen is here from the PMAC group that as you will surmise from the information that I've placed at your location, runs a pretty aggressive agenda. It shows no mercy. There's a lot of information there. But what is impressive is the caliber of individuals, especially the uniformed folks that show up at this gathering, which provides an opportunity for the community, have direct relationship opportunities, understand the rotation of some of these individuals, and really have a direct avenue of communication when there's a opportunity or an issue associated in and around these major installations that are here in the city of Portsmouth. Importantly, there's also information at your location that talks about current Department of Defense initiatives. This was derived from the recent National Association of Defense Communities summit up in Arlington that Portsmouth was represented at in partnership with the Hampton Roads Military Affairs and Facilities group, who's very active in that association. In fact, Rick Dwyer is on the board of that group now. So Hampton Roads, and particularly the city of Portsmouth, is very present in that dialogue that involves people that work in the Washington world, whether they're uniformed folks or Defense Department folks. The communication and information flow is very current and important to the ongoing efforts of this body. And in addition to the rest of the economic development community. So I urge you to take a look at that document. Also in your packet is a copy of a recent White House executive order that talks in terms of strengthening the maritime community in the United States, which obviously impacts Hampton Roads significantly and the city of Portsmouth in particular. So we're following the future potential this may offer this body and the community, and we'll keep you posted as it unfolds. It's under the direction of the Department of Defense, and we'll keep you posted if we find any opportunities that may be available to us to the community. But that was a very productive time, well spent in Arlington at the National Defense Community Group. And I commend the chairman for that gathering last week. And again, it's impressive. I've seen several groups in the region that do the same thing, but that is the most impressive group of people I've seen around the table. And to his credit, he's been former chair.
Charlie, if I could
Yes,
just make one comment. One of my big takeaways from that meeting was the Rumford brief.
Yeah.
It talked about the growth of the Coast Guard base,
yes.
like doubling in size.
Good point.
And then from talking to the CO that they're likely to be taking over Craney Island over the next 3 years. And they're going to be home porting all the Coast Guard cutters here that aren't there before.
Right.
And that we probably need the infrastructure to support these Coast Guard vessels here, which is something that this group of people probably ought to think about. Because, there's maintenance required on the ships and whatever. And we have little shipyards here and they're in Norfolk as well, but when you're talking about adding, 10,000 people to the Coast Guard and adding 6 ships here, that's a lot of growth here in Portsmouth.
Correct.
So I just thought that was something that, we need to be aware of here at the PPIC. So, but you're right, that was a great meeting.
Yeah, you're correct, Vice Chair. The plus up from a budget perspective was a very bright spot that the Honorable folks shared with us in terms of budget for the Coast Guard, especially here in the 5th District.
If people don't know what the Harumpha is, it's the
Yeah. It seems like
Roads Military and Federal
Clearing
Facilities Alliance. And I guess, Councilman Hugo, can you speak to that a little bit? I mean, who they are and what they do?
Yeah, so this group was created post BRAC to really kind of at the tail end of BRAC 2005 to kind of be the local engagement and local engagement from the military community here in Hampton Roads, primarily into the federal government. And frankly, they do lobbying on behalf of the Hampton Roads community and on behalf of the military installations, which of course are not allowed to lobby. So it's started by several military folk in the area that set the thing in motion with the blessing of the Hampton Roads Chamber. And now they're one of several regional representatives. You think about the Hampton Roads Alliance, Hampton Roads Chamber, Hampton Roads Workforce Council. Harumpha would be counted in and amongst that group representing the interests of Hampton Roads. In this case, specifically to the federal government on behalf of the military presence that we have here. I think to pile on to what the vice chair said, the other interesting thing that I took away from the Harumpha brief. So Brian and I had been talking about this report from the local ODU economist that highlighted the potential for a $1.1 billion negative impact specifically to the city of Portsmouth over what's been happening since January the 20th. In fact, the Harumpa report suggested that while there's no discussion currently about doing another BRAC, there was discussion that they participated in about doing realignings, primarily realignings around mission functions. And it was suggested that Hampton Roads stands to gain from the realignings rather than lose from the realignings because we're already such an important hub of military activity, kind of across the board. Army's here, Navy's here, Coast Guard's here, Air Force is here. And the missions that each of those activities currently is doing may offer opportunity for some other related missions to move here instead of remaining where they are. And so I know we've been trying to figure out where the $1.1 billion negative impact to Portsmouth, what the basis of that was, but there are a whole lot of other prevailing winds that suggest we stand to be winners in this realignment that's being discussed now rather than losers. And so again, to the vice chair's point, I think it's important that this group keeps our finger on that pulse so that as things perhaps get realigned in this direction, that we're tuned into to not only the military realignment, but the business, the economic development opportunities that come out of those business realignment or the military realignments.
I'd like to request that we reach out to the Hampton Roads Military and Federal Facilities Alliance to see if they would be willing to come and do a presentation for us.
Certainly, we will certainly do that and get them on the agenda for a future meeting to provide that briefing. There's obviously a lot to discuss. These are certainly interesting times, and a lot of the realignment discussions that are happening. It does afford Hampton Roads, particularly Portsmouth, a unique opportunity to take advantage of this push for reestablishment of our maritime industry at a national level. We're really well positioned to take advantage of that. We have facilities that are here that I don't believe are at risk of disappearing. And the investments that are being made now, I think, position them for Portsmouth to serve as a primary player in industry going forward. There's literally billions of dollars being invested at the Naval Shipyard as we speak. We don't really know exactly how they devise those numbers in that report. Charlie and I had a call with one of the members of the committee that was part of that study. And I really think it was a general calculation based on what the Naval Hospital and the shipyard receive in annual funding, not necessarily specific to funds that may be at risk. So not quite sure what the reasoning was behind that, but I think we are confident that Portsmouth is strong as it relates to the defense community and parameters for those facilities going on.
Let's move forward with the 2025 Oceanic International Partnering Forum.
Yes, Madam Chair, this is, as Chris had talked about earlier, Oceanic is more or less a trade association for any entity that's involved in alternative energy development, project development, especially wind. So their 2025 annual meeting is being held here in Virginia, specifically Virginia Beach. So these folks from around the globe are actually going to be in our backyard next week, all next week, where it'll give us an opportunity really to showcase what Virginia has to offer and continue to build relationships in the alternative energy development business. Particularly part of their agenda involves a port tour at PMT and Fairwinds Landing that we'll participate in. and be able to have a dialogue with some of these folks that are associated with the C-Valve project that are still looking for facility location opportunities. In particular, there's several prospective companies that the staff has built relationships with over time that are going to be here in the country, actually, and hopeful to have them over in Portsmouth next week to look at potential facility possibilities to support the C-Valve project. So we're still active in that industry. We're still big advocates of it. The opportunities are there to be had, and we'll keep it posted on our success after next week.
Yeah.
Chris, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah. I think you hit on it. You know, I think short-term, you know, environment there's some uncertainty, but I think long-term structural, especially here in Virginia within Portsmouth Marine Terminal, there's definitely, I think, long-term as we look midterm and out long-term on this form of energy being deployed in futures, you know, years.
All right. Coastal seaplane project briefing.
Chris Kelly is going to come forward and provide them all an update on what I think is an interesting project that staff has been working on, and looks like it will be coming before the city council here I believe next month. So just wanted to provide a briefing on that, as it does have a maritime connection.
Before you start,
Yes, ma'am.
did you have a question, Mr. Sir?
I did, going back to the, PMMAC, where are the meetings?
It's gonna be every third Thursday. And that's 801 Crawford in the sixth deck, circular meeting room, the
City council
city
conference.
council. It's a 7:45 if you're interested in the donuts and coffee that Councilman Hugel provides, and 0800 prompt start.
Excellent.
Get there early because the donuts go pretty quick.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning,
Fred.
commissioners, councilmen. Before I start on this, just figured I'd kind of also let everyone know, as a follow-up to what Charlie was talking about with the wind. Portsmouth does actually have a company, Chesapeake Bay Diving Inc. They're actually building out a facility on Airline Boulevard. They are a Portsmouth company and they are on the wind project. They got a contract about 3 weeks ago. So we do have an official Portsmouth company that is working on the Coastal Virginia Offshore Wind Project. So
Wonderful.
definitely a big win for us. Just coastal seaplane project briefing. So I've been working with this company since December of 2023. So this has been a long time coming. There's been a ton of planning, a lot of back and forth with a lot of groups. This is actually the gentleman's name is Sam Riggs, but this is kind of a cut from his website. I wanted to embed the website here, but due to some IT restrictions, we can't embed into the PowerPoint. So this is just a click. You can go to the next slide. So a little bit of a background. So it's a commercial seaplane operation on the Elizabeth River. They're going to be docking over a Tidewater yacht out of Dock D. No infrastructure changes are going to be required. So essentially he is hangering the plane in Newport News, and every day that he does have flights out of here, he'll be bringing in the plane. He'll be docking up at Dock D, and then in the evening, the plane will then leave, go back and hangar in Newport News. Average probably 3 flights a day, based on all of the reporting. And I would preface all of this or preface this by saying, if you did not watch the Planning Commission video or have not read the packet, any question you could possibly have would get answered in that. I know Councilman Hugel sat for the hour in Planning Commission with us for that particular application, but it's super deep. You'll get anything and everything that I can't answer strictly from that video. So again, as part of his text amendment and zoning that they are asking for, the conditional use permit, 5 flights would be the max. One question that did come up was, well, as he expands, if he's got 5 planes, what that would mean is each one of those planes can only do 1 trip, or, one plane could do 5 trips in a day, but they are capped at 5 trips per day. Essentially, what you can do day trips. This is kind of also another cut from the website, just kind of showing the different zones. As far south as Ocracoke and actually goes up to Annapolis as well. Those are kind of day charter trips. So if you wanted a group of people to kind of go down to the Outer Banks for a day or a week or whatever, he can actually do that right here from the dock. A lot of regulatory approvals. When we were originally doing this, we spoke with the Army Corps. They originally said, because you're not constructing anything in the area, there's nothing we need to do. The gentleman, Sam Riggs, actually found a certain code under 36 CFR 328. He brought it to them that they could secondary regulate this through a public comment process. So once he brought that information to them, we actually did through the United States Army Corps of Engineers, as the use days, we did that back in November. Everybody from, I mean, it was VMA, pretty much every branch of the military. We had actually MHI over in Norfolk came. I mean, it was a big group, public comment period. And then essentially all of this stuff here is what they had to go through prior to being able to submit for the zoning text amendment. So I know that there's a lot of acronyms and I have printed my acronyms here so I can kind of spit them off. But essentially he's got FAA, kind of to start all this, the FAA is really the big regulatory body for them when they're in the air. Actually, the Coast Guard considers them a boat or a vessel as long as they're on the water. So a lot of the compliance with the United States Coast Guard's rules of the road, FAA regulations as well. What we had to do, he also had to register the landing area for the Department of Aviation and the FAA. This is where I was speaking. There was a public review of the environmental assessment and a FONSI was completing, which is a finding of no significant impact. And that was kind of where we had that public from October through November of last year. And again, the United States Coast Guard, Navy, FAA, all kind of weighed into that. Community enhancements, you know, of course, it's going to create tourism, some jobs, definitely going to boost our waterfront area with the visibility of that plane. It's pretty cool if you haven't seen it yet, and it's surprisingly not noisy at all. And he's done it a bunch of different times. I've never heard the plane come in actually. And at the meeting, all of the Swimming Point residents actually, I think it was all 35 homes, they signed an approval and said that, you know, they've never actually heard it from where they live either. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Supports emergency response capabilities. Also, Sam's wife flies the Nightingale. She's a chopper pilot. She actually taught Sam how to fly. That's kind of how he learned how to fly. Next slide, please, Sunny. A little bit more about some of the safety operations, because that's generally the noise and the safety are kind of the big things that everybody is wondering about. So again, seaplanes are classified as a vessel in the water. They have to yield to all vessels. If there's a big line out there, the seaplane is actually the last in line. So depending on if you've got ferry operations, you've got the Navy pulling a ship out, or the Coast Guard, or any of the tugs doing anything, seaplane is last in line always. And then they have to coordinate obviously with the Coast Guard, the Navy, the shipyard. They are also required to work with Chambers Field and Norfolk Airport just as far as kind of coordinating coming in and coming out. If we've got any major events out on the water, kind of like when they do, op sail or any fireworks, any big stuff going on out there, they will actually suspend and kind of change the way that they operate based on what's happening out in the water. Operational safety protocol. So all of the pilots are FAA certified. They all will have the high frequency radios, channel 16, to be able to coordinate with anybody and everybody. They'll do daily reviews of NOTAMs, which is the notice to mariners, as well as any of the marine safety information bulletins. They get reviewed daily to make sure that they're in coordination with everything. Again, adherence to the U.S. Coast Guard rules of the road. And this other one here, the call regs, which is, they're the rules of international regulation for provisions of collisions at sea. again, mandatory communication with Chambers Field, Norfolk Air. And then they're not allowed to moor in any of the federal channels unless it's an absolute emergency. So,
Where are they physically taking off and landing?
so you'll see that, in the next couple of slides that I've got a big map that came out of the, planning commission application that kind of shows where everything kind of takes off in the river. Again, some more of the community safety engagement things. He's going to be doing a lot of public safety events. They have to go through again, annual FAA. And then Andy with Freedom Boat Club at Planning Commission also mentioned that all of the Freedom Boat Club members will be getting training around kind of seaplane operations and what to expect, as we really try to increase water activity to boost everything here in Portsmouth. So they're going to be doing a lot of training around all the members on, hey, there's going to be a seaplane kind of coming in here, and these are the things you need to be looking out for. So here we go. Here's our, it might be hard to sort of see in the back. So the area kind of right out in the middle of our water is essentially kind of taxing area. There is no taking off in this strip down here in the south. And then in this branch here are actually where the takeoff zones will be. And so here's Tidewater Yacht and Marina right here. So this ends up being a little bit of a taxing area. This is going to be the main takeoff area. This is sort of a secondary, if necessary, takeoff area that's been cleared. But right here generally is going to be kind of the main takeoff area with taxiing happening with this sort of rectangle block. Next slide might be okay. You can go back to the briefing here. And so essentially he has, again, we've worked with a pretty much all of the entities at this point in coordinating. I know that he's met with HRT recently. He's also going to be going, I believe later this week to check out the ferry operations and kind of how they do all that as well. But it's been a very well thought out, you would have figured we were building, the Chesapeake's Greenlink cable, $600 million project in the wetlands with the amount of things we went through with this project over the past year and a half. But it's going to be an asset for us. Sam is not a fly by night kind of guy. Even in the big open meeting, we had a lot of top brass military officials there that I thought were going to eat this kid alive. And when we left that meeting, we had some of the old salts in there. Like, I'd let him fly me. I thought that was pretty impressive for him young guy to come out of that room with some respect. But I'm really excited for this thing. Like I said, I've been working it for about a year and some change. It was one of my first projects in getting here. So to see this thing come to fruition finally, is excellent. And he's flown I call them missions, in the Southeast Passage in Alaska. So talking in between some of those mountains with crazy wind. He's done them in Seattle, New York, Texas, Louisiana, East Coast. I know I'm getting a little more on the info, but where we are on the East Coast is prime for this. They've got it down in Florida. They've got it up in New York. They do daily seaplane operations out of the East River, right there in that heavy. Boston, it's right out of the Seaport District. You've got Boston Logan International on one side of the water, the shipyard on the other, and they fly seaplanes out of the middle there, as well as Seattle. So I'm super happy that he thought of Portsmouth, wanted to come to Portsmouth, and that we're going to be the first hub in the Mid-Atlantic for seaplanes. So I will take questions. Hopefully I can answer them. If not, I strongly encourage you to watch the Planning Commission video as well as read the 100th page packet that was put together. All the environmental assessments, everything that the Army Corps did, all the FAA regulations, Navy, Coast Guard, everything's put together in that package. And I'll take questions.
Are there any questions?
Do we have like a 5-year lease on this thing, or, so they don't move over to Norfolk or something?
No, so Norfolk right over here is going to be, it's never zero, right? But based on Norfolk's ownership of the Waterside Marina, what's happening with the casino, Harbor Park, it really. So I asked him first straight up when he came in. I said, "Why are you not doing this from Norfolk over there?" He said, "It just logistically does not work well over there." Also with the size of their marina and the way that the city's ownership, the city also told them no, straight up. Because that was kind of my first, when we were getting to this, I was like, I don't want to lose this. This is going to be cool. You know, especially once we redevelop all the waterfront, to have two mixed use developments and a giant plane out in the water is going to be phenomenal. No lease. He's working strictly with Suntex Marina, Rick, over at Tidewater Yachts. So whatever their, I'm not privy to what their deal is or how long they have a lease, but he's got permission, or he's got locations in the York River as well. Actually with Rick, Suntex owns some marinas up there. Cape Charles, he's established seaplane base as well. So he's kind of flying in all different areas, but he wants Portsmouth really to be kind of home base. And so that's why we actually suggested doing the text amendment to add seaplane base to the zoning code. Originally, it was thought that maybe that was going to be too much, but to be honest, it protects the city and him from sort of unintended fly-by-night people not really being, you know, held to the same standard. And then this also secures it long-term for Portsmouth to be able to do this. I would like for Portsmouth to be the main seaplane base in the entire Mid-Atlantic region. That's my goal.
I guess, does this fit into the Crawford Bay redevelopment time?
Indirectly, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's an amenity, it's a service that's going to be provided. So it, you know, it is an air service. Will certainly help promote tourism. So I think there's a tie in there to what we're trying to do with the adjacent waterfront property.
And he's a certified air carrier, which means he can carry cargo as well. So you might see, depending, I mean, that's not the main line of business, of course, but he's got pretty much any and every sort of regulatory license certification that one could have. And right now it's one plane. So that's what you'll see.
And how big is that plane?
That's a good question. If you go back to the first slide, you can kind of see it, but it's a smaller, and anybody who may be an aircraft person, plane person, I know we got both guys, but I don't know how big that is, but it's basically, I think max of 4 passengers, not including the pilot. It can handle, gosh, what did he say on weight? I'll lie to you if I tell you what weight was, but he did mention it in the planning commission meeting, because somebody asked, well, if you're driving me or flying me to the Outer Banks or DC, how much luggage can I bring? And so he just said it does support it, but if you had, 8 people in there and everybody's bringing those giant Louis bags, then maybe not. But that's the plane. So that is his plane. That is the plane you will see.
And it's Coastal Seaplanes is the website.
Yes, ma'am. And then they do a lot of different stuff, like they'll take you out charter fishing or like sunset cruises. If you go on the website, there's a whole list of things, prices, where he goes. He also does other type of stuff where he'll take you out backpacking in Utah, not from this dock here, but he's got another website. It's Air and Opportunity Adventures. Again, he used to take people out in Alaska, down the Moab Desert and do these excursions. So he is,
So check out the website.
yeah, it's pretty cool. And he's a young guy.
Thank you so much. I
You're very
appreciate
welcome,
it.
Madam Chair.
I have no items submitted by commissioners. So we'll move on to, there is no need for a closed meeting. Report back.
Madam Chair, just one item to share, which is that the Save the City event is coming up.
Yes,
That is scheduled for Friday, May 2nd. We sent out some invitations for that.
I've already started.
Thank you. For those who haven't, please RSVP at your earliest convenience. We can make sure we have a seat reserved for you at the table. Again, that's Friday, May 2nd, from noon till 2 p.m. I would recommend, if you're planning to attend, arriving at about 11:30 or so for networking and to find your seat. That will be held at Rivers Casino Portsmouth. It is Hampton Roads Chamber event, really well attended. In fact, I think it's already sold out. So over 600 people from across the region will be present to hear from the mayor on all the accomplishments of last year and activities as we look ahead. Should be a very exciting day. I think there's several things that are scheduled that sound like they may be worth attending to hear about. Just leave it at that.
Okay. I will see you all for our next meeting. This meeting is now adjourned.